MS-13 once and for all. We have a great country. I want to keep it that way.
Republicans getting ready for a busy week in Washington. Immigration is front and center. The president is going to meet with House Republicans.
You've got family separation, a policy that has gone on previous administrations.
Of course, the president's going to get a deal done, but he's not going to compromise what he talked about in the campaign.
FBI Director Wray, as well as Inspector General Michael Horowitz, testifying tomorrow before Senator Grass's Judiciary Committee. Will anyone actually be prosecuted?
Comey's been fired. Deputy Director McCabe fired. Why is Peter Strzok still there?
Governor, quick, have you heard from a particular press secretary on this Father's Day?
I'm sure I will.
She's busy.
I have a wonderfully blended family. And wait a minute.
They're all here.
There they are. Holy cow. Can you guys hear us?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Day it has been so far on the show.
Yes.
We are already 3 hours in. Happy Father's Day to everyone that is tuning into us this morning. And I'm sitting next to two of the greatest dads that I know on this couch. We've already seen Pete's family. I don't know how you get up and do this show.
They're all there.
In the morning.
I'm running back to be reinforcements because they outnumber us substantially.
And they took a little bit of from my list,
your advice.
my rules. They got the steak, they got the beer ready for you.
Cheeseburger,
You can't get
sausage,
out of here
and
fast
bacon
enough.
are all waiting for me,
It's
and
gonna be
beer.
good.
Griff, thank you. Bacon. Thank you, Griff, for suggesting that. I think you put that nugget in their
Yes,
mind.
I'm here to help.
Always. Griff Jenkins, a wonderful father himself. And you
you're
guys have been
sitting up,
emailing us all morning long because we do this show because of you. Frankly, we feel like we know you. Honestly. I mean, and you guys approach us all the time, say, hey, we feel like we know you. It's reciprocal because we love you.
And what
thank you
makes
so much for
this
watching.
show so great is family. All of your families that watch us, but all of our families. We're all in this thing together. And I think what makes us good at what we do and happy with what we do is we get to go home to people that we love so much. And so you guys have been sending us in your photos, and please keep sending them, friends at foxnews.com. This comes in from Sean and his baby celebrating their very first Father's Day together.
Nice shades. I like it.
And Lauren sends this one of her dad, Arnie, an Army vet. She writes, my dad is the most proud and loyal father of 5 girls, as well as a few of his grandchildren.
Special place in heaven, 5 girls.
I know.
You know, Griff, you know a little bit about that. All right, and this from Sharon, honoring his grandpa, Sergeant First Class Bethel Strong. He writes, the agreement to return our military makes me think Grandpa is applauding in heaven. Happy Father's Day to all U.S. military coming home from Korea. You know, I may not cry that very often, but I get chills reading something like that.
Sure.
You think about what it matters to families, these guys who gave everything on that peninsula. Their remains never came home, and part of this deal is we're going to get these guys back. Yeah. It's very, very cool.
Pretty incredible, and so meaningful to so many families. So I asked my husband what he wanted for Father's Day, and he texted me this morning. He said he wants breakfast in bed, which obviously is not happening.
Okay, yep, no.
He wants to watch the World Cup and the U.S. Open. He says no diaper changing.
Oh, I like
Which
it.
he also has to do this morning.
Nailing it so far. Nailing it so far.
And he just wants time with his girls, which is sweet.
Oh,
very sweet.
That's good.
You know
He's
what,
cute,
Jeff?
Pete.
Yeah,
He's
well done.
cute.
No, he's not cute. He's good. He's a good dude.
He's a good
who's
guy.
Jeff, I
cute according
recommend
to
you check out my rules, though. You may want the 4th one, which is immunity. But enough about my rules. Let's talk about the rules on Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
As soon as I get out of here and go back to Washington, it is going to take
Our country
off.
has rules.
They do. And the president is going to meet on Tuesday with Republicans, particularly in the House, to see if they can make some headway on immigration. There's a leadership option that says that it tackles the 4 pillars of the president wanting. And Chairman Bob Goodlatte, who's going to be on this program very soon, is got his own conservative one. So 2 bills are out there. The president's coming to them to try and find a way to make progress at a time when passions are running very high.
Yeah, emotions are so high. The reason this is at the forefront is because we're all seeing what is going on at the border. And by the way, this has been going on for years and years. And administrations well before President Trump have been trying to deal with this very issue and how you handle these kids that come over the border. There was a moment back when Barack Obama was handling handling this. President Obama back in 2014 and his team, they got together. He hired a group of people to say, how do we handle this? And they thought at one point about separating kids with their families. And they ultimately came to the conclusion that this would be bad politically. This would be bad. This would be bad for us. The optics, the headlines would be bad. They made that decision. President Trump, early on in the campaign, he said, I'm running for immigration. This is something that I'm very passionate about. And look, he now put forward zero tolerance policy. But we've also heard the president talk about having a heart and that he wants to get things right. And that includes handling these children. Here's what he had to say.
The children can be taken care of quickly, beautifully, and immediately. I hate to see separation of parents and children. They are here illegally. They shouldn't be very worried. I do have a big heart. We're going to take care of everybody. But you have some absolutely incredible kids. I would say mostly. They were brought here in such a way. It's a very, very tough subject. We are going to deal with DACA with heart. If we do this properly, DACA, you're not so far away from comprehensive immigration reform. And if you want to take it that further step, I'll take the heat. I don't care. My whole life has been heat. I like heat in a certain way.
Great last comment, because Abby, you talked about how President Obama thought about it, talked about it, convened a council to discuss it. And President Trump said, I got elected to do it. I'm a businessman who solves problems. So either you build the wall, which Congress hasn't been willing to do or fund, or we're going to take the necessary steps to disincentivize people to break the law at the border. And so what he said is we're going to have a zero tolerance policy. If you are an adult who brings a kid across the border, we are going to temporarily, calm down, everyone. These are not concentration camps, everyone saying those words. Temporarily separate kids from parents while the lawbreakers are adjudicated in our country because they knew they were breaking the law. We take great care of these kids. I shouldn't even say this, but I'm going to say it anyway because this is what I do for a living. I would put my oldest kid in one of these for a week, and I guarantee you he'd be just fine. Totally different situation. I get it. But I know that they're being treated carefully, kindly, because that's what our government does and what we should do for any kid who's brought here without their own say as a minor. Of course we should do that. Yeah. But ultimately, you have to enforce the laws of your country. And if you won't build the wall, you have to do something serious. And the president is doing that.
You also don't want to see this happening either.
No, but it's been happening for decades.
You don't want to send your kids to these facilities.
Because Democrats have not been serious about
You also don't want to be separated from your kids. I'm saying we all need to find a solution. We may disagree on how we move forward. No one wants to see this happening at the border, and that is clear. Yes, we also don't need to be calling people Nazis and saying it's like a concentration camp. We need to focus on the debate at hand and how we solve this, because it has been one of the biggest challenges this country has faced for a very long time. It is heated, Griff. It is emotional, and there are reasons for that. Because any parent, especially on Father's Day, watching this happen, we all see these videos. We all see the pictures. We see them coming in. We all feel for it. It is hard to watch.
It's out of control. Look, you mentioned Father's Day, Abby. Look at Speaker Paul Ryan puts out a Father's Day video and gets roasted by John Legend. Now, here is a tweet from Paul Ryan. My life changed the day I became a father. Liza, Charlie, and Sam are my highest priority. Wishing all the dads out there a happy early Father's Day. So, what do we get from John Legend? There he is with his daughter, Liza.
Yep. So Paul Ryan, like so many of you, is a father who loves his kids, right? He's a Republican. He supports certain policies, different from Democrats and Hollywood elites and others. Well, John Legend, who you may know from singing, tweeted this. He said, seriously, F you. Reunite the families at the border, and we can talk about Father's Day. Again, Abby, to your point, Nazis, concentration camps, F you. Paul Ryan may not want to secure the border the way Democrats do or John Legend does, but why does he merit that response, and how does that advance any real solution?
It doesn't get us anywhere. If anything, it makes it more challenging to move forward when you have tweets like that. Also, I don't think he understands where Paul Ryan is coming from, because he actually has the more moderate bill in the House, and he's saying he wants a pathway for these children. If anything, you have Goodlatte and others who we're going to have on the show later who are wanting stronger border security. They're not where Paul Ryan is. Paul Ryan's working with the Democrats on this, actually. He says we need to get the Democrat votes to get this thing passed. So he might need to do some research.
Let me correct one thing. I'm not disturbed by the images at the border. I'm not. You know what I'm disturbed by? Images of people being killed by gang members and MS-13 members coming across the border killing American citizens. holding a child humanely, temporarily, and then reuniting them with their parents
Correct.
is about the most humane border policy we have on the planet. No, I mean,
Well, I noticed-
it's absolutely ridiculous to draw the comparisons to concentration camps and all the other things the so-called mainstream media does. This is very humane.
There's got to be a better solution.
There, of course,
There's
is a better
gotta be
solution, but Congress
solution
hasn't
than that.
found their way. So in the interim, without a wall, you have to take temporary measures. We got to find a better solution. But
here's what I'd say, though. A
much
lot of
better
families
than the
come
way a lot
over
of borders are
because
enforced.
you look back, the past administrations have not enforced the no tolerance policy. So they bring in their kids, and they know that this is a way for them to come in, for them to get through that border.
child shield.
And so when they're coming in now, I'm assuming many of them think that that is still the case. And so when they are told in that moment, no, we're actually going to take your children away from you, that is when it is tough.
But
It's
Correct.
hard to watch.
But it's the future, the next person coming who now knows that that's the policy.
Lose not
Maybe they're
sight, though,
deterred from
guys.
doing it. I don't
Lose
know.
not sight on the context, and that is the president knew this would come to a head like this, and he says this is intended to bring it to the table like he brought North Korea to the table. And we were going to talk to Chairman Bob Goodlatte, who has one of those two competing bills on Tuesday. Stay tuned, because we're literally going to make news on whether the chairman believes bringing this to a head is going to produce
And
results.
if we had this conversation as friends, imagine Republicans and Democrats trying to come together to fix it. That's why it is such a contentious issue.
It is a tough conversation, and one that will keep being had. Keep sending us your thoughts on this, friends at foxnews.com. But we do have some breaking news I want to bring you right now, starting with a Fox News alert. A woman injuring 2 people with a box cutter inside of a supermarket in southern France. Apparently, she was yelling, "God is great," in Arabic during that attack, but has now been arrested. A similar attack happening back in March, if you remember, at a French grocery store that killed 4 people. We'll keep a close eye on that one. Also, a gunman is dead and at least 20 people injured after an overnight shooting at an art and music festival. The youngest victim, a 13-year-old boy, now in critical condition. Police say 4 others were also critically hurt. The gunfire erupting around 3 a.m. At Art All Night in Trenton, New Jersey. 1 other shooter is now in custody. The rest of the festival has been canceled. And on a sad note, a candlelight vigil set for tonight to remember 2 fallen deputies, Teresa King and Patrick Rohr, shot and killed outside of a Kansas City courthouse. King, a 13-year veteran of the department, was a mother of 3 kids, and Rohr had served 7 years and was a father of 2. Investigators believe Antoine Fielder, seen right there, grabbed one of their guns as they escorted him into a robbery hearing. He was shot and is expected to survive. And Senator Ted Cruz taking Jimmy Kimmel to school on the hardwood. The Texas Republican beating the late-night host 11-9 in a game of 1-1. The basketball challenge for charity coming after Kimmel poked fun at Cruz for supporting the Houston Rockets. Cruz got some pregame advice from so-called stunt double and former Duke standout Grayson Allen. As we say on the show, a win is a win.
A win.
You can be bad at the sport, but you still win.
I'm a fan of Senator Cruz. His moves aren't smooth. But he got it done. You got to give him. He got the W.
He did. It was very interesting.
You got to like that.
All right, stunning news out of Europe, not involving
Google the
Ted
video.
Cruz or Jimmy Kimmel this morning, where Germany's leader, you see her there, Angela Merkel, could lose power any day because of her open border policy. We'll talk about that with Dr. Sebastian Gorka next.
And this Boston firefighter celebrating Father's Day in an incredible way by playing in the final round of the U.S. Open with his dad as his caddy. Wow, the two join us before teeing off. Super
Wow.
cool. Just ahead.
In a different language you might not.
Europe this morning, where Germany's leader, Angela Merkel, could lose power any day now because of her open border policies. Here to react, former deputy assistant to the president and Fox News national security strategist, Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Doctor, thanks for being here. So I call
Happy
her
Father's
sort of,
Day, Pete.
Happy Father's Day, sir. I appreciate it. You could call her, chancellor or the queen of open borders. Are there going to be consequences now for the policy she's taken?
Yeah, absolutely. Her coalition partner, the CSU of Bavaria, is trying to reflect the reality in the European Union of disastrous immigration policies. A recent poll amongst German voters saw that more than 60% of those polled said they don't want undocumented asylum seekers even let into the country. So this idea that you can just open the borders for as long as you like and there won't be consequences for you politically, or even when it comes to the safety of the nation, well, finally, reality is giving giving pause for thought to the politicians in Germany.
Well, so, Doctor, ultimately, the voices of the voters matter. And so the people who have to deal with the consequences of the utopian visions of the open borders elites are saying, wait, you've changed the whole contours of our country. We may not be in for this.
Right. So, look, if you don't have borders or if you don't control, Germany has basically said we'll accept anybody, then the concept of the nation ceases to exist. Not only that, you see the attacks happening again and again and again. Germany has suffered. There's been another knife attack just within, minutes of this broadcast in France. So this is why events like Brexit occur. They're the reality check for these elites that simply don't live in the real world and who think that you can do this without consequences. Merkel, on her New Year's Eve statement 2 years ago, said the biggest threat to Germany is jihadi terrorism. In her next sentence, she said, but we will not stop allowing refugees and asylum seekers into the country. Well, those two things, they can't exist at the same time, Pete.
Yeah, not in reality, of course. And they've welcomed almost, I believe, 1.6 million refugees. Now, on another subject, we got to get your take on it, is, of course, the left. Look at some of these headlines and the way they're characterizing this president, especially following his meeting with Kim Jong-un. The Washington Post says, dictator envy. Trump's praise of Kim Jong-un widens his embrace of totalitarian leaders. Huffington Post, shockingly, Donald Trump wants attention like Kim Jong-un gets from North Koreans. LA Times, Trump voices admiration of envy of Kim. Okay, it goes on and on. Donald dreams of dictators. So, of course, because he cuts a deal that makes America safer, he is an autocrat.
So did they say the same thing when Kennedy met with Khrushchev in Vienna in the 1960s? They didn't say anything of the sort. And if he were a dictator, they wouldn't be allowed to say what they are saying. These people are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. The Singapore summit, which I was honored to, be there with Sean Hannity and his team, if that succeeds, that will be the greatest diplomatic success for any American president since the end of the Cold War. And they want to criticize him for it. They truly live in an alternate universe, Pete.
Well, they certainly do. And their only criticism is a general salutes him and he salutes him back, and suddenly now he's a dictator. Dr. Sebastian Gorka, appreciate your insight and happy Father's Day. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Pete.
You got it. All right. Well, two major stories happening on Capitol Hill this week. President Trump is going to huddle with House Republicans over immigration on Tuesday afternoon. And the FBI director and the DOJ IG, they're going to testify. Well, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte, he'll be in the middle of all of it in the part of both of those activities. But first, he's right here with us. It's happening this week. President Trump set to host the nation's top space policy council at the White House tomorrow. The public meeting is intended to boost momentum for public-private exploration of the moon and maybe even Mars. And royalty heading to the White House on Tuesday. President Trump and the First Lady set to welcome King Philippe and Queen Letizia, I believe I got that, Letizia of Spain. Letizia, I'm sorry, I was corrected, of Spain. It will be the couple's last stop on a tour of the U.S. and marks the first royal visit since the president took office. And this story. President Trump will also visit my home state of Minnesota and the city of Duluth on Wednesday. The rally, such a big draw that organizers are forced to move it to a bigger arena. It will be President Trump's first trip to Minnesota and a blue state, I will note, since his election. Abby, Griff, down to you guys.
You should go, Pete. Thanks.
I should.
All right, President Trump heading to the Hill Tuesday to meet with House Republicans as two GOP bills head to the floor. Our next guest is behind one of those bills. So does he expect the president to sign it?
GOP Congressman Bob Goodlatte is chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. He joins us now to weigh in. Mr. Chairman, good morning. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you very much. Happy Father's Day to all your viewers who meet that criteria as well. It's great to be with you, Chris and Abby. This is an exciting week coming up.
It is a lot going on, right? So we want to ask you first about immigration. As you well know, it has now come to the forefront. And this is one of the toughest issues this country has been trying to deal with for years and years. It's an emotional one. You're seeing those photos coming in at the border. You have put your bill forward. Where do you think this goes? Will we see a deal get done, not just in the House, but passing through the Senate as well?
I think there's a great prospect of that, especially in the House. We'll send it over to the Senate, and when we do, I think that they will feel compelled to take this issue up again and pass this bill and send it on to the president, who's anxious to sign it. By the way, we have two bills, and I'm on both of those bills. We have the bill that I introduced along with Mike McCall, the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, and Raul Labrador, chairman of the Immigration Subcommittee, and Martha McSally, chairman of the Border Security Committee. We introduced that much earlier in the year, and we've been working hard to get to 218 votes. We have not thus far succeeded in doing that. So we've been working to get this consensus bill, the second bill, and in that room, in addition to myself, has been Raul Labrador, Mike McCall, Mark Walker, the chairman of the Republican Study Committee, leaders of the Freedom Caucus, people who signed the discharge petition, Tuesday group members. This is a consensus bill, and by the way, a very conservative bill. Some people have been calling it the moderate bill. It is not that at all. In fact, it has some conservative provisions that are not even in our first bill, especially a trigger which says that when we do stuff for the DACA population, that will not continue if the funding is in any way rescinded by any future Congress. We're going to advance appropriate these funds, and if they're rescinded, the other program stops as well. That's a really important feature.
But a lot of people say that
the president supports it. A little confusion on Friday about that, but I think that's straight now. He's coming to the Hill to pitch both of these bills, but it's really important that we get to 218, and if that second bill is the one that gets us to 218, I am all for it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, let me ask you, because also on the Hill, before we run out of time with you, I want to get to the Inspector General report. We talked a lot about it yesterday. It is a trove of bias, although the findings were that Director Comey was insubordinate, but not evidence that he was affected by the bias in his decisions. But you have taken the steps to subpoena Peter Strzok, that agent in charge of the Clinton email investigation, as well as the Russia probe, and he's going to be subpoenaed, according to you. Will you also subpoena what we found and reported on yesterday, an agent, a rank-and-file agent here in the New York office that was looking into Anthony Weiner's sex investigation and found those emails, which for a month were ignored by headquarters?
Yes, we are requesting to speak to that individual as well. We have not made a determination about whether a subpoena is necessary there. We have made that decision with regard to Peter Strzok because we've been requesting him for quite some time now. And if an agreement is not reached in the next day or so to produce him voluntarily, we will issue that subpoena early this week.
All right. I do want to get your final thoughts on immigration, because that is such a big one, and one that will be talked about and voted on hopefully this week. You say that yours is very much the conservative bill, but critics would say you're just not going to get enough votes for that. Negotiating is all about compromise. You get some and you give a little bit. How much will you, the Freedom Caucus, be willing to give up in order to get something done?
Well, there's not a lot that's given up in this second bill, what I call the consensus bill, because it has the funding and, as I say, advance funding for not just the wall, but the security measures that go along with that, the judges, the courts, the personnel, the technology, all that's needed there. But the biggest problem we have are closing loopholes in our asylum laws, in our unaccompanied minor laws, and in fact, all of those are addressed, including President Trump and the Department of Homeland Security's top 10 loophole closing enforcement measures. We also, as you know, in that bill, moved from a terrible visa lottery system to a merit-based immigration system that not just DACA recipients, but other people who are lawfully present in the United States and are young and don't have a pathway forward can use. And we're going to go a long way towards ending chain migration for extended family and moving toward a merit system.
Very quickly, is the Freedom Caucus on board? The real sticking point, we all know, is DACA, and this consensus bill is a 6-year indefinitely renewable contingent non-immigration status that people don't seem to be 100% on board. Is the Freedom Caucus on with this?
Well, I can't speak for the Freedom Caucus, and I suspect that they would tell you that some of their members maybe yes, some no, and a bunch undecided. That's why this week is so important, why the president's visit is so important, so we can get into the weeds on these. And I think when people see that this is a good, solid conservative bill that unites our party and addresses an issue we haven't been addressing in a long time, we have a great prospect of passing it.
All right, we'll
Thank
be
you, Mr.
watching
Chairman.
closely. Chairman, good to see you this morning.
All right, moments ago, President Trump tweeting that our economy may be doing better than ever. Maria Bartiromo is here to break down the numbers live.
Plus, this Boston firefighter is giving his dad a Father's Day he will never forget by playing in the final round of the U.S. Open with his old man as his caddy. The two join us before teeing off this morning. That is just ahead. You don't want to miss it.
And as we celebrate dads here on Fox and Friends, I'm sharing my 5 Father's Day rules. Pay attention. I'll take you through them. That's coming up next. There they are.
It is Father's Day, and whether you believe it or not, the staff of Fox and Friends actually have fathers as well.
They're human.
Emailing. Yes, this guy in particular has a father. We didn't even know it.
We can debate if he's human or not, but he does have a dad.
Correct. He's our executive producer, Sean Broman, with his dad, Jay, back in the 80s. And now today, we love Sean Broman, and if his father produced him, then his father must be a good guy, too.
A good man. All right, in this one, our writer Amanda Weston with her dad, Tim. Happy Father's Day, Tim.
Love that pick. All right, check out this photo. This is a flashback. Senior producer Lauren Peacock and her sister with their dad, Michael. She is one of the best.
Wow.
Love it.
And here's another picture, throwback picture. This is associate producer Nicolette, Chris Nicolette, and his dad, Larry. Look at that. That's a throwback because he's not that age as he produces the show.
No.
I can attest.
All right, so we've been talking all morning on the show about Father's Day and celebrating the important role of dad. And Griff, who we all love to death, has made a whole list of rules for himself of how he wants to be
It's a
treated
real
on that
thing.
special day.
Rules for Father's Day according to Griff.
So the father is the leader, and he must lay down some rules. So Kathleen, Madeline, and Mackenzie, if you're listening in Washington, let me just lay down these rules. Number 1, beer. The patriarch's preferred beverage. It shall be served cold in abundance with a smile. Number 2, steak. This is the patriarch's preferred food. It shall be served grilled to perfection, also in abundance and without judgment. Dog, the patriarch's preferred companion. He shall be pampered. And by the way, number 2 applies to him as well. Number 4, this one's a little tricky, but stick with me. It's immunity. All profanity, burping, and general idiotic utterances shall be permitted without reservation. And in case you were not paying attention, number 5 is C, numbers 1 through 4.
If only they
And
heard this list.
If only, did they know of this? Whoa. Come in! Look who's here! Oh my goodness! We brought the family to the father.
Wow.
Indeed.
I'm blown away. Look at
Blown away. Look at that.
Look, by the way, he loves
You
her
need to
nose.
give your lovely wife a kiss, not just your dog.
My dog is very happy to see you.
Sit down. Come in.
Come here. Move on over. Hi, Rascal.
How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Rascal has never been on the curvy couch. The girls have.
First of all, we
Happy
want to
Father's
thank
Day.
you for giving us so much of his time, because we know that he's away a lot and you guys are in D.C. and Griff is such a special person and I know you all love him so much. So thank you for sharing him.
Yes.
So I learned about that you were here about 5 minutes ago. You learned 5 seconds ago. When did you guys know you were gonna sneak up on him?
here?
Yes, last night.
What?
We're in the same hotel as you.
That's fantastic. Was it hard not to tell him?
Yeah,
bet.
it's really hard.
But you texted me last
I
night.
was
You were at dinner.
lying.
So what do you girls love about your dad? Tell us things we don't know about Griff.
Well, I mean, y'all see a sense of humor, but he's just a good guy.
Of course. What do you think of his rules for Father's Day?
Where are we on there?
No, yeah, I believe you are a part of providing the beer and providing the steak.
Oh, okay.
Rule number 1.
Oh my! You know what?
Look at
God
that.
bless you. God bless you.
You know what?
Griff, I'll open one for you.
Please do.
Well, what do you
thank
have?
you. Hold on,
we got a blue
I
box
got a gift
there,
too.
And
Oh
these
my
are for
goodness.
you.
These are for me?
Oh, you got gifts. The immunity thing too, right? All the possible burping and stupid things that might come out of my mouth.
It's like any
Thank
other
you for
day.
being here.
Well, now you get a day together in New York
I love
City.
you guys. I love you.
Super cool.
Kathleen,
So much
though,
fun.
thank you. He is fabulous, and we're
We love
lucky
him.
to have him
We
here
love
with
him.
us on
Thank
the
you
show.
for having him.
And of course the dog. Remember to pamper.
And he
Fresco.
talks about you guys all throughout the commercial break. We're going to let these two right now.
Serious love fest.
Rick, take it away.
Oh my gosh, bring me that dog. Bring me the dog, Griff. When you go out with your family for the day in New York City, all dogs sit, all right?
All right. I'll bring Rascal by, although he may want to go with us.
I can kind of tell. Hey, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to you too.
Is this a Father's Day trip to New York?
No, it's just our vacation.
Okay, you could have called it just a Father's Day anyway. Just there you go. Happy Father's Day. Enjoy. Take a look at the maps as you are. Maybe you've been up for a while already this morning. It is hot across the plains and it's humid. 83 in Chicago, 80 in Minneapolis, 83 in Kansas City, and that's just to get your start for the day. We also have a lot of moisture here down across parts of the central Gulf right now. That moisture is moving in across areas of Texas, and get ready. We could be seeing some spots around at least the eastern coastal areas of Texas, maybe up to about a foot of rain this week. So some very heavy showers coming in. Here's your forecast heat index throughout the day. It is going to be another hot day. That moves off towards the east tomorrow. It's going to be nice and toasty to start the coming week. Then we get a little bit of a break after that. All right, guys, back to you inside.
Thank
Back
you,
to
Rick.
us.
You bet.
All right.
Hey, Rick, the beer is cold, I can confirm.
I'm in heaven.
That's all.
I got the dog. I got beer. I got my family. I'm set.
Happy
right,
Father's
cheers
Day,
it away.
Griff. Cheers, brother.
Read about Roma right after this.
I think I want to have your baby.
Welcome back. Well, moments ago, President Trump weighing in on the booming economy, tweeting this, quote, "Our economy is perhaps better than it's ever been. Companies doing really well and moving back to America, and job numbers are the best in 44 years."
Sunday Morning Futures host Maria Bartiromo joins us now to react. We've been hearing these numbers for a while now. It's a good place to be, yet you don't hear a lot about it in the media.
No,
Yet
you
that's
don't.
what the American people are focused on right now.
It's true, Abby. I mean, you go to any, station and they're talking about just some crazy sideline things about this president instead of the actual policies that are changing people's lives. He's right. The economy is doing very well. Did you see what the Federal Reserve did last week? The Federal Reserve last week raised interest rates, and we are expecting another 3 rate hikes this year. Why? Because the economy is doing well. It is time to take away this artificial stimulus that has been in place for so long, which is rock bottom interest rates. And we are seeing employment some at some of the best levels we've seen in decades. So the president is right, and it does have to do with the tax cut plan and the rolling back of the regulations.
So let me jump in for 1 second, though. I read a headline in the New York Times this morning, Maria. I suspect you've seen it, and that is the tariffs and worries over a trade war is already impacting the global economy. What's going on?
It's true. There's some uncertainty around trade because the president did institute tariffs on aluminum and steel. And as a result, you are seeing some of the companies that input aluminum and steel, car companies, home builders, their lives are getting more expensive. And so because of that, that could slow things down. There's no doubt about it. The issue about aluminum and steel, even though we have a surplus with Canada, the president had to institute across the board tariffs on aluminum and steel, because if you have one country that doesn't have a tariff and you have everybody else that has a tariff, everybody's going to use that one country to flow through their products through there.
Sure.
So you couldn't do that. So the administration said to Canada, look, we have to do something across the board for all of our friends. We're willing to just put a quota on the amount of product you put into this country. Canada wasn't hearing it. So they said, no, we don't want a quota. We don't want tariffs. So the tariffs are instituted. But you're right. That is the worry, that trade will cut off some economic growth that we've seen. But now most analysts are saying the bigger worry is inflation, things heating up as opposed to slowing down. Economic growth is on a very good trajectory right now.
And one of my big worries every Sunday is Maria going to steal all of our good guests for her show at 10 o'clock, which you do often, and you're great at it. Tell us about your show coming up.
We got a great show coming up.
Of course you do, because you stole them all from us.
House Intel Committee Chairman Representative Devin Nunes and Homeland Security Chairman Representative McCall. We are talking about this blockbuster meeting that happened on Friday night. Goodlatte was in that meeting. I don't know if you got into it about this, but it was Nunes, Goodlatte, Gowdy, Christopher Wray, and Rod Rosenstein. Feinstein.
Wow.
They made some agreements about documents, and when the deadlines are in place, we're going to get right at that, find out what happened at that meeting, and we want to go through the IG report. Very few people understand the IG report better than John Ratcliffe.
Yeah.
He's also coming
That'd
out
be a
from
big
the
one.
Judiciary Committee.
And of course, it's Father's Day.
Exactly. It is.
And I want to thank your father for bringing you into this world because we all love you.
Oh, there's my dad. Thank you so much.
So
Thank you.
sweet.
Happy Father. And I'm
Happy
glad
Father's Day, Dad. I love you.
you got the purple memo today, too, by the way.
I know. That was great.
Listen, I'm covered in
Good
dog here. They
coincidence.
brought my dog. I've been crying all morning, my family.
We'll see you in 10 minutes,
Day to
guys.
your father.
See you in 10 minutes.
And speaking of, up next, this Boston firefighter is giving his dad a Father's Day he'll never forget by playing in the final round of the U.S. Open with his old man as his caddy. The two join us live before teeing off. Hey, guys.
Possible this year by playing in the final round of the U.S. Open with his dad, Vic, as his caddy.
Matt completed a 20-foot birdie putt on the 18th hole Friday to make the cut on the final round today, probably the biggest putt of his life.
Yeah, Matt Barzali and his dad, Vic, join us live from the U.S. Open in Southampton, New York. Good morning. Happy Father's Day to you, Vic. What is it like for you two guys to be teeing off in just moments together?
I think it's great. Just being at the Open is a special place to be, and being Father's Day makes it extra special.
All right, yeah, so Matt, did you know when you sunk that putt that it was hinging on 2 more days at the U.S. Open, and what is it like to have your dad with you, carrying your bags, being with you for this amazing experience?
Yeah, so when I started the day on Friday, the cut was actually projected a little higher than what it ended up being. I saw on the leaderboard it was falling, so I could have 2-putted there and still made the cut, but I was fortunate enough to have that go in, so there's no questions. But we've been doing this a long time together. This is nothing new. I just love getting into the process and trying to compete, and so, but it is good that it's Father's Day, and I'm happy that I made the cut and was able to play yesterday and have another chance today.
So special. And golf is not the only thing you're good at. Matt, you're also a firefighter. Vic, you are, I'm being told, a retired firefighter. Vic, tell us what service means to you, what it means to your family, and passing that down now to your own son.
Oh, it's a great profession, and you get a lot of time with your family. I never miss many of their hockey games or anything like that, and you can spend a lot of time and still have a fulfilling job.
So hold on, but not most people who are firefighters also don't qualify for the U.S. Open. So Matt, tell me how you were able to both do your job and become the caliber of golfer that you are.
I've been playing golf a lot longer than I've been a firefighter, so I played in college. I turned professional after college. I loved competing, but being a firefighter allows me to still compete at a high level.
Yep.
And gives me enough time to work on my game and to play events all over the country, really. So that's why it's a great career for me for the schedule.
Vic, your son's 8 strokes back going into today, and I'm guessing you still give him advice. Does your son, now that he's a big shot golfer, still take your fatherly advice?
I don't say too much. If he asks me my opinion, or if he asks me if I like the certain club, I'll tell him if I don't, and usually we agree on what he's going to do.
Matt, any last words for your dad on this Father's Day?
No, at the Masters I was just trying to keep him upright, but he's doing a lot better this week than
Well played, Matt.
No, we're having fun. So
Matt and Vic, thank you for
Very
your
cool.
service, and thank you for sharing your story.
Good
this
luck
morning.
today.
Yeah,
Happy
have a great
Father's Day.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank
Such
you.
a great story. All right, more Fox and Friends moments away.